Hey everybody, this is Edie Sellers from Gamehounds, Day 3, the morning of Day 3, the final day of PAX 2013 in Boston. And with me is...
My name is Seth Shane. I'm a producer and designer on Dishonored.
All right, and we are actually getting our first look at the Dishonored DLC. So tell me about where does this DLC fall in the story of Dishonored?
So this DLC is called The Knife of Dunwall. It's the first story DLC that we're releasing. And in The Knife of Dunwall, you play as Dowd, the murderer of the beloved Empress Jessamine. The reason we picked Dowd is because he's very parallel to Corvo. He's sort of like the dark version of Corvo. They're both from Serkonos. They both have supernatural powers. Corvo is the Empress's bodyguard. Dowd is an assassin who murdered the Empress. And Dowd is the person who frames Corvo of that murder. So we thought it would be interesting to take off from that point and see what's Dowd's story in the world running parallel to Corvo's.
And how many hours is it? How long is it? You know, what kind of... One of my frustrations with DLC is sometimes it over-promises and under-delivers, let's just say that. What are we looking at as far as time?
Well, I'll give you the answer that we always give people when they ask that about Dishonored. It entirely depends on your playstyle.
Right.
I mean, if you're just going to chase the objective marker and ignore a lot of the content, then you can probably race through it in 3 hours. But if you are a stealth player or a non-lethal player or you want to ghost, you're going to spend 6 hours or more because we've just created that much content. And also for the $10 price point, I think we've added, we have 3 new missions. One of them revisits a location from Dishonored, but 2 are completely new, and we have a bunch of new systems. We have new powers, we have new gadgets, so we have a lot to offer. Lots of new characters, too. What
are some of the gadgets that you're going to be introducing on this one?
Well, if you remember from playing the game, Dowd fires crossbow bolts from a concealed wrist bow in his sleeve. So we kind of wanted to think about what that is, what that mechanism looks like. So you play through the game with this wrist bow on your sleeve, which is super cool. We even have some synchronized animations where you kill people using the wrist bow, right up to the neck. So that's kind of cool. And it only works if you have ammo. Which is great, but it doesn't spend ammo. Anyway, we also have some non-lethal tools like choke dust, which is sort of like a smoke grenade that creates a plume of noxious gas that will temporarily stun enemies. So they'll be choking, and if they're in combat with you, they'll fall into search mode and they kind of are blind for a second, so it gives you a chance to get away. So it's a really good tool for escaping. It's also a good tool for just stunning them so you can slit all their throats. But it's up to you how you want to engage it. We also have this new tool called an arc mine, which works just like a spring razor, except that it vaporizes your enemy completely. So you don't have to deal with all the messy body parts the spring razor leaves around. That holds 2 charges, and you can also get a stun mine version of that, but that's not lethal.
And you also mentioned that there are new powers involved as well?
Yep. So Dowd has a couple new powers. Because Dowd is a leader of a gang of assassins, we have a summon assassin power available. And Dowd can just summon assassins in the world or on enemies, and the assassins will just spawn an AI that will then fight for you. Dowd also has his own version of Blink it's like Blink with a cool twist. With this version of Blink, when you're aiming it, when you're not moving, the world freezes and gives you all the time that you need to precisely aim Blink. This makes Blink really powerful because you can do things like start targeting and walk off a ledge, and then just take your hand off the movement stick, and then you're suddenly frozen in air, and you can do things like blink into a window below you or up to a ledge above you or around a corner. It becomes much more acrobatic. Also in combat, you can just hold down blink if you're about to die and just look for an escape path. So it makes escaping a lot easier. And it also feels more like how Dowd and his assassins teleport in the game. They kind of teleport omnidirectionally, and this lets you teleport omnidirectionally. We have a version of, it's sort of like Dowd's version of Dark Vision. We call it Void Gaze, and it's different than Dark Vision in that we give you level 1 for free, and it lets you find bone charms and runes because Dowd doesn't have a heart. So we need, to be able to locate those. And then if you upgrade Void Gaze to level 2, it gives you all the features that Dark Vision gives you. So you can see vision cones, security devices, pickups, stuff like that.
One of the things that people do in Dishonored, especially with multiple playthroughs, is usually, it's like even though there's certainly a stealth element to it, is that you kind of blast through the first time, and then the second time you kind of do it as a stealth, because it gives you the opportunity to kind of see stuff and know how you want to approach stealth, not blind, so to speak. It seems like Blink would be really helpful for doing this as a stealth for the first playthrough, because it would you would actually have the ability to be able to kind of see where you want to be. It gives you that extra kind of leg up instead of just blasting through and then playing it a second time as stealth.
Yeah, that's a really good insight. When you're like sneaking around and a guard accidentally, like you start getting seen by a guard that you didn't know was there, and you get to the like second level of awareness where he's about to spot you, you could just hold down Blink and then just like look for an escape path and get away, and then he'll just like not. He'll be like, "What? I thought I saw something. Must have been a rat." So absolutely, it will make stealth easier in that way. However, if you are the kind of player who wants to do it that way, like you said, you run through it kind of brutally and then go play it back and play it again. That's a totally supported way to play, and that's the way I recommend playing it too, because you can build a fluency with the systems playing that way, and then when you go back, you can really enjoy and soak in the content. Additionally, in the Knife of Dunwall, we have a new difficulty mode called Master Assassin Difficulty, and that difficulty is locked until you beat the Knife of Dunwall, and then you can go back and play that campaign again with like this super difficult mode. So for the people who thought very hard wasn't hard enough,
all three of you?
Yeah, the Master Assassin mode is for you. It is like the super immersive mode where getting hit by a sword once kills you, which totally changes how you think about that vitality power, because now the vitality power lets you survive one sword hit.
Right. Yeah, so it essentially doubles your chances of surviving that moment.
Right.
That's awesome. So what's the date we're looking at for this to be released?
The Knife of Dunwall releases on April 16 on Xbox, PlayStation Network, and Steam worldwide.
Yeah. And it's a $10 price point. Season. I don't remember if there was a season pass on. Is this part of the season pass?
We don't have a season pass.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember. It's like I've been playing so many games lately. Let's see, what other questions? I'm going to just leave this feed open just simply because I want Nick to ask some questions since he's put his hands on it. Right now we have Nick and Gully playing it. I'm just kind of watching him. I know, this is riveting radio.
Oh, this is, can I talk about this granny recipe?
Oh, yeah.
So we've also added a bunch of like other ways to engage the content. What's his name, Nick?
Yeah.
So Nick just read a granny recipe, which is a note he found in a world that has like kind of a cryptic poem, and it kind of talks about these things like a weeper corpse and like the eye of a whale or something, and it's like these little puzzles that we put into the world that like were left there by Granny Rags. And if you can find the ingredients for this recipe and you can bring them back to where you found the recipe, there's a way of combining them into like magic, and that creates a rune. And it's just like another way to explore the world and to like power up. Additionally, because Dowd is like, part of the Dunwall's criminal underground, he has like a network of fences and spies, and he can buy favors at the beginning of every mission. So if people remember playing Thief, you would equip all before every mission with like a store interface. So that's what we've done in the Knife of Dunwall. Rather than have like a central hub to return to have a store, at the beginning of every mission you have a store, and one of the new tabs in the store is the favors tab, and you can buy favors which will do things like unlock a rune or give you a safe combination or disable an alarm.
You did mention just a few minutes ago that there was going to be locations that you were going to revisit. Can you say which the location?
Yeah, so if you remember from Dishonored, Dowd lives in the Flooded District. He has like his base in the old abandoned buildings of the Flooded District, and the last mission takes you back there. And the twist on that I think is fun is that when you're Corvo, you're infiltrating the space that like belongs to Dowd and his gang of assassins. But in the Knife of Dunwall, you're playing as Dowd. So like one of the first things you notice when you start that map is that you get Dowd's key, which is something like as Corvo you have to like take from Dowd. But it's kind of fun because although the doors are still locked and they were still required Dowd's key, but you get that right away, right? So instead of infiltrating your base, it's like that's your home. Right. I don't want to give away the plot twist or the spoiler about what happens there, but it's just kind of cool to like be looking at it from a different perspective.
And I think that you were talking about this before we started recording, is that there's actually going to play into two different separate parts of the DLC, that there's a small story arc and a large story arc. The large story arc is going to begin in this one?
Right, so where do I start? Okay, so when Dowd, if you really listen to Dowd and read the notes and listen to his audiograph, you kind of pick up on Dowd feeling remorseful about killing the Empress. Like, he kills lots of nobles, and it doesn't really bother him because they're all corrupt. But somehow with the Empress, he feels like maybe he went too far. So, he did. Like, even the outsider thinks so, right? And so, at the beginning of A Knife of Dunwall, he speaks to the outsider, and the outsider gives him this warning: you're doomed. Like, your end is coming, and you only have one chance to save yourself. And he gives a very cryptic clue: Delilah. So, the Knife of Dunwall is about figuring out who or what Delilah is. And so that's the larger story arc that we're kicking off. There's a shorter story arc involving characters within the Knife of Dunwall that resolve at the end of the Knife of Dunwall. But then the second DLC, which will come out later this year, is called The Brigmore Witches, and in that DLC will conclude the rest of the story.
I'm assuming there's a pretty good cliffhanger at the end of Knife of Dunwall?
I don't want to give away any spoilers, so you're going to have to play it.
That would be yes. We're going to have an awesome cliffhanger. I'm going to grab Nick over here since he's had his hands on it, see if he has any questions. Do you have any questions
yeah, what changes with a high chaos, low chaos playthrough? Is that still going to be part of the game?
Yeah, absolutely. So you started playing, so you met Billy Lurk, right? So Billy Lurk is a new character we're introducing in the Knife of Dunwall. She's Dowd's second in command. And she's sort of like a chaos feedback gauge, sort of like Emily was, where Emily was like a reflection of your chaos. Billy Lurk also kind of like can go lighter or darker depending on how you play. She'll also comment on your play style, and the last mission will play out differently depending on high and low chaos.
Okay, so just like Dishonored.
Just like Dishonored, yeah.
So now that high chaos, low chaos setting, will that carry over into the next DLC that continues the story?
I don't think I can comment on that at this time.
Okay.
Hey, can I just...
In other words, yes.
let me just say, this game is smooth. This is a very smooth playing game.
I told you you'd like it.
You did say I would like it, and it took 2 minutes to finally get it. And now I was scrolling through everything and doing, and it was, yes. Let me just say yes. It's smooth and yes.
It's smooth and yes.
It's a hit. It's a hit.
So also, I got a question. I forget his name, the mysterious figure.
The outsider?
The outsider makes an appearance here and appears to Dowd. Before he just appeared to Corvo. Are we going to learn a little bit more about him? Because I think he was one of the most interesting things about Dishonored, how this mysterious figure manipulates the world.
Yeah, so, I guess when you meet the outsider as Corvo, you get like this one perspective, like you get Corvo's perspective of the outsider. When you meet the outsider as Dowd, you realize that the outsider is, he's impartial. He's like, you just get a different window on him because now you're seeing him through Dowd's eyes, right? And we also reveal some other like lore about like the outsider in the magic in Dunwall. Like the outsider says there are only 8 people in the world given my mark, right? And the mark that Corvo wears on his hand, that's the mark of the outsider. That's the conduit through which like the magic is bestowed upon Corvo and Dowd. Dowd shares the same mark, and so there's only like 8 people in the world who have this mark, and yet Dowd has his gang of assassins, and they all can teleport and use magic. So how is that? We have a new power. Dowd has an ability called Arcane Bond, which is like a passive power that you start with level 1 of, and that's what lets because Dowd can blink, that's what lets his assassins blink. So the Arcane Bond power is a power with which Dowd shares his magic through with his assassins. And you can level up this Arcane Bond to level 2, which lets you do things like when you stop time, your assassins don't stop. Like they're alive in Ben time as well, so they don't slow down. So you can like stop time with a bunch of enemies around, have a summoned assassin, and then you can just kill everyone there. And
so there are still some ridiculous combinations of the powers that we can use.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, we try to pay that off as much as possible.
All right. And one thing I'm hoping for, Do we get to climb on a whaling ship? Because I wanted to get on one of those the first time I saw it in Dishonored.
Will you settle for climbing on a whale?
Yes, that's okay. I will take that.
Really, you get to climb on a whale?
There's a whale, and you can climb on him. Yeah.
We've all had to do once or twice in our life. You know what I mean, Nick?
Oh God.
You almost said
The last
something.
horse
I
crosses
wanna
the
know
finish
what was
line.
in your head. So any other questions you have, Nick?
When's it out?
April 16th.
All right. April 16th. Thank you so much for speaking with us. It's great to talk to you.